Pokimane says streaming is too male-dominated. We all know when Pokimane opens her mouth, usually nothing good comes out. So let's see. Yeah, just get into it. This is by Optimus. Let's see. Let's see what Pokimane says.
Alright, what's going on, everybody?
What she says.
Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at an interesting quote here. It stirred up a lot of online discussion. A lot of people have been taking this kind of negatively because to most people when Pokimane says this, it just kind of comes off as like kind of coping about the fact that apparently streaming is quote-unquote male-dominated. Now, it's actually kind of...
I mean, it is. Let's not deny it. It is. But the reasons are not... women are bad or women are worse at streaming or women are just like treated worse and like misogyny. That's not it.
Funny because I mean I think this is a conclusion anyone could come to, the fact that streaming and like Twitch or whatever are apparently male dominated platforms, and this is probably the most obvious thing you could point out. So when it even is really pointed out, since it's such an obvious fact of nature that really doesn't actually affect anything, it just comes across as like you being...
Isn't it female dominated streaming? No, definitely not. Streaming is not female dominated. Not even the audience is like female. It's like 23% female or so, like 24%, something like that. It is not female dominated. Like even if you look like the big players of like streaming, it's mostly dudes. Like Queso, Kaisina, Speed. It is definitely male-dominated. No denial on that.
Salty about it, or you're kind of just upset about it.
Not streaming, VTubing. Well, this is streaming in general, right? But VTubing is female-dominated. Yep, absolutely, no denial. VTubing is so female-dominated. Which makes sense, because consider that most men like to... My bad, I thought we were continuing the VTubing thing. No. Though, yeah, VTubing is mostly... female dominated. That is true. Because let's face it, the men, and even some women, like to watch big booba women. That's just how it is.
For whatever reason. So, like I said, a lot of the takes on this one have been pretty negative from a lot of people. So, Pokimane claims that streaming has become, in the last few years, a lot more male-dominated, I guess, for...
It has become more male-dominated? It was more male-dominated to begin with. How can we have more female streamers, yet the space became more male-dominated? That makes no sense. It was male-dominated to begin with. It was almost like stream was almost exclusively male. Gooners Assemble, pretty much.
Two big examples of how males have apparently dominated streaming are Kai Cenat and IShowSpeed, who granted are probably the two biggest streamers in the entire game right now, like at least that I can think of. Maybe there's like a Spanish streamer or something like that, or a VTuber that I'm not aware of that's just blowing their numbers out of the water, but I don't think that's the case. But I think it's an interesting discussion to have nonetheless, because this is something that if you look...
at least when we're talking about like VTuber, male VTuber, I don't know if he meant like overall, because then you could say probably like Iron Mouse. But if we're talking about male VTubers, nope, nah, there's no way. There is no way that a male VTuber can dominate. Like, at least like in the sense that these two do it.
Look at it on the surface level, if you're one of these people who thinks that there has to be like equal representation in everything.
There does not have to be equal representation. The best one wins, and the best ones currently are dudes. Today, educational channel was averaging 330k viewers. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Right, you would look at this and be like, oh, well, this industry is way too dominated by males. We need more women in streaming and stuff like that. But I think to anybody, really, you understand that that's just not ever going to be the reality, probably, of the situation. I really never see a world in which, like, there's the same amount of women to men playing video games live.
I mean, even, like, video games, it's guaranteed, like, 80-20%. I can guarantee you, like, really video games, it's probably 80 to 20%. Maybe, granted, maybe 70 to 30% maybe nowadays, but it's not that high. And for male and female viewer base, for streamers in general, it's like it's like 1/3 female and 2/3 male. That's just how it is. It's probably more than 2/3.
Live streaming, gaming on the internet, things like that. And the reality is just that these kinds of hobbies typically appeal more to males, especially younger males, than it does to their female counterparts. But before we go ahead and get further in the video, I do want to say, if you're brand new around here on the channel, make sure you hit like and subscribe down below so you don't miss any more of my uploads in the future. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this video. Pokimane, still the most followed female streamer on Twitch, has claimed that the streaming world has become increasingly male-dominated in the past couple of years.
I'm just gonna say that, like I said before, that makes no sense because, let's face it, the vast majority of streamers back in the day were still dudes. Let's not deny that. How if anything, it became less male-dominated, not more. Maybe like the top range, that could probably be, I don't know.
Pointing to the success of Kai Cenat and iShowSpeed. Kai Cenat has quickly risen from a popular but niche streamer in 2021 to a bona fide superstar, striking ad deals with McDonald's and featuring A-list celebrities on his Twitch channel. And iShowSpeed is arguably...
But isn't it usually the case, if you're a guy, you'll have a bigger female audience? Excluding you, obviously. I don't know how it did. The 50% are just women that like Pokemon. 100% guaranteed. It might be. It might be. But I also think, and that's really important to acknowledge, if you are not good looking as a female streamer, you're practically cooked. If you're not a VTuber. Because let's face it, there are some male streamers that like top streamers that look like Quasimodo from like you know, that one Disney movie. And like when you look at like the top female streamers, they're really just like usually just like really attractive women. So attractiveness does not matter for men, but it matters for women. Which is something we need to take into consideration, considering that the vast majority of viewers is male. 15%, 15 is really low. It's usually almost 50-50 or more. I can check right now what it is, because it probably is less right now. I can almost guarantee that it's going to be less right now, because I got a lot more dudes recently. Yeah, it's under 10% right now with like females. So there you know. True, you gotta be cute or have a really nice voice. True, yeah.
The most popular streamer globally right now, traveling the world and attracting massive crowds in every city he visits. On the Colin and Samir podcast, Pokimane was asked about the rise of Kai and Speed and explained that while she loves their content and everything they do, she believes their success is indicative of the increasingly, quote, male-dominated demographic of viewers. Quote, as much as I think Kai and Speed are incredible and what they do is incredible, also when I think of them, I think of how much the audience has changed over the years as well. Quote, they're both like two young dudes who do like crazy wild things, and just from a data and analytics perspective, I find it really interesting to see who are the top streamers, their similarities, their differences, especially in terms of audiences, and unfortunately, there aren't that many huge female streamers, at least not on Kai and Speed's level. So I find this really interesting to claim that, like, from a quote-unquote analytical and a data-driven perspective.
Yeah. I would say that when we look at, like, considering everything, right? IRL streamers, VTubers and stuff, we consider everything. It's like we have to look at like Twitch, because that's where a lot of people stream, right? And we realize that it's really funny, considering that apparently the Gooner strategy of exposing yourself on Twitch does not guarantee you as much success as being just like a goofy dude, which is really funny. So like, I don't know. Would I say that? I would say yes, that analytically wise, you sometimes don't really compare to like these dudes, because these dudes are just that broken. But at the flip side, most dudes don't even probably compare. It has always been that way, but yeah, she's not totally wrong. She's not totally wrong that like numbers wise, most female streamers don't compare. I'm not gonna say and deny that, because that is just true. But the reasons that she would probably give are not the ones that I would agree with. Poke has a nice voice to me, but he's straight. Thank you, appreciate it. I never really thought about his voice. Damn. Well, it can't be annoying, because then you wouldn't be here anymore. I would say, I don't know. She's right, but she might be right for all the wrong reasons.
Right, that you would find this interesting, because even like one Google search of just like looking up, for instance, the Twitch gender viewer demographics, you'll notice that over time they have actually shifted more and more female. So this concept that like as a whole genre or whatever, streaming is just becoming more and more male dominated, it's not.
Yeah, go back. Let's look at numbers here. Okay, gender. In the US, 37% of Twitch users are female and 63% are male. So I was right with like 1/3, around about 1/3 being female and 2/3 being male. Bingo.
Is just becoming more and more male dominated. It's not backed up by really any data whatsoever. Now, the quote unquote evidence that they're going to use here is just like circumstantial shit that can be explained like a million different ways. It's not in any way really indicative that apparently streaming is too male dominated, or it's just something that like, oh, there's not that many huge female streamers out there, right? Now, like I said, there's probably always going to be more of a balance towards men in these kinds of industries, because like I said, a lot of this, it starts off early. You know, your careers start early. My career started when I was a child on YouTube. So for a lot of young boys, they just grow up caring more about video games and like doing YouTube and stuff than girls have. It's not like a knock on women or anything. It's just the reality of the situation. So
you also have to consider the type of content that women consume in comparison to dudes. It's also what kind of content women do in comparison to dudes. That is also really important. Because we don't share this, funnily enough, we don't really share the same interests when it comes to like watching stuff.
It makes sense that there is more representation of males in general in this kind of industry. And it's really not even a bad thing that there's no major female superstars, because to me, and I assume so many other people, it's really not about your gender. Like, I don't really give a fuck if you're male or female. If you're talented at your job, which in this instance would be like streaming or content creation, you will find a way to rise to the top, because that's what people who are good at content creation and streaming do. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, that inherent like driven instinct to continue and like work hard and succeed, it just exists in only certain people, regardless of that immutable characteristic or whatever. And there are a lot of like really huge female streamers out there. Pokimane is a really good example of it. So like I said, she uses these two examples of Kai and Speed especially to be like, oh, this is,
yeah, like Pokimane, a lot of the VTubers like Iron Mouse, Heckin Gargura, which I will definitely count as a woman. Yes, I will count VTubers as women. Hate to break it to you. There's probably a lot of other. I think there's like a big like Mexican lady or Spanish lady. I think it was a Mexican lady. Was also really doing really well. Some of the cam girls are also probably doing pretty well.
is how it's gotten and shifted more and more toward a male demographic. But it really has nothing to do with like male versus female anything. It has to do everything.
True, QT is also one. Iron Mouse, exactly like I said.
Thing with the content strategy that Kai Cenat and IShowSpeed have. First and foremost, both of them are highly charismatic, meaning that when people tune into their stream, they're always talking about something, they're talking to someone, they're always playing something, there's almost always something going on their streams. Not only that, but they're constantly hanging out with celebrities. You got IShowSpeed out here hanging out with fucking soccer superstars, you've got Kai Cenat on
You have IShowSpeed being like a mayor for like a day or so, a few hours. No one does that. No one does that. IShowSpeed jumps over driving cars. Nobody does that.
stream with like a different platinum rapper every week. He went to like the Grammys and was meeting rappers like backstage and shit. It all comes down to content strategy. I mean, I don't really think people are like, for instance, tuning into like a Kai Cenat stream or an IShowSpeed stream simply because they're men or whatever, right? It's because what they're doing on their streams is entertaining, it's drawing people in, their friends talk about how much they like these people's streams. And obviously, I think Pokimane knows all of this. She's very good at her job too. She's one of the biggest streamers. But it's just kind of an unnecessary point to make, to be like, oh, well, this is a male-dominated thing. And when you say that it's becoming more and more that way, that's just not true. There's no truth to that whatsoever. There's no analytical or like data-driven perspective that says that. It's really just like an anecdotal thing where I feel like it's more based on just vibes or whatever, but even then, I don't really understand how you could get.
I would argue that there's more male newcomers that are doing pretty well. Like Queso's a full-on male newcomer. Doing pretty well. I like Iron Mouse. She's probably the only VTuber I watched stuff from. I found her through Connor. Yeah, those two are also a really good combination. I like Iron Mouse. She's a really sweet. she's a sweetie. I think Speed was in a football match with a lot of famous players the other day. Damn, that man is cooking.
Get that vibe when you've seen some of the shit that's been happening on Twitch over the last few years. But, quote, nowadays the audience, like, in a way, gone more to being a lot of, like, younger dudes, which is amazing, but I remember during 2020, I felt a much larger female presence, both in the audience and in regards to the streamers we were seeing growing and becoming more popular. Quote, who you see at the top can also, a lot of the time, reflect the viewers, the streamer said. When asked by Colin if she believes the internet in general is more male-dominated now, she said streaming certainly is. Pokey explained, quote, the streaming landscape, let's say 7 years ago, very male-dominated. It was the most even during 2020, and since then, it's gone back to being more male-dominated. Whether this is because of Kai and Speed...
2020, huh? Interesting. Could it be that you had more female streamer because during the pandemic, women were also at home and discovering streaming? Could that be the case? Because I'm just wondering, considering that most dudes probably are watching already streamers, right? Could it be that women then just joined in, which made it feel like more, like, whether we're like more women?
Speed's popularity or that they've just benefited from the change, Pokimane didn't say. In the top 20 most followed streamers on Twitch, Pokimane is the only woman. In 2024, no female streamer was in the top 40 most watched channels on Twitch, with Iron Mouse being the highest at 44th overall. 3 female streamers, Iron Mouse, Mira, and Emiru, made the top 100 most watched channels in 2024 via Sully Gnome. However, in 2020 and 2021, only 1 female streamer made the top 100 most watched each year on Twitch. In 2020, Pokimane was 63rd most watched overall, and in 2021, Amaranth was the only woman in the top 100 at 42nd. Now, there's an obvious issue with a lot of female streamers that has been entirely ignored in this debate, and I know this is going to upset some people because there's a lot of people who, anytime you criticize this kind of shit, they get upset and they think that you're just being sexist, but it's just the reality. The last, like, 2 or 3 years on Twitch, the vast majority of major female streams that were like actually getting shown on the homepage and
Cam girls, straight up, let's just say it. Let's just be honest about it. Cam girls, that's just how it is.
shit were women abusing the hot tub meta and shit like that. So Twitch, a website where people go to watch video games and to watch like people have conversations with the audience, things like that. The entire homepage at one point was literally full of just random women who were sitting in a bikini in, a hot tub or something.
If they were even sitting in the hot tub, because nowadays they just have the hot tub in the background and then they sit on a glass chair with a camera up their butt. Yeah. You don't need the hot tub, but don't you dare as a VTuber show hips. If you show hips, you get annihilated on the spot. No choice violence, no mercy.
Somewhere, barely circumventing the TOS of the website, and almost all of them exclusively were promoting an OnlyFans page where some of them showed even more, and some of them, they just showed their bikini shots or whatever, right? So I'm not saying all female streamers did this, because obviously there's outliers and there's women who were just playing games.
It's not all female streamers, but I can guarantee you what I've seen recently also happening to VTubing is that it is almost needed to have like a Fansly and OnlyFans and have like loot content. I don't know who the moron is that started it, but I want the morons to stop. I want it to stop. I want it to stop. This is not what VTubing is about. You're desecrating where it originally started, which is Japan. Stop it. Get some help. I do not want to see your loot art. Leave me alone. I will not interact with you. I will block you immediately if I see it. Like, to get attention, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Leave me alone. Streaming bikinis are really skimpy. Yep. That if Twitch doesn't decide just to ban you for no reason at all. Or yeah, or you get like bits on like Twitch and they ban you for fraud. Okay. I remember there was a group, from some VTuber group or corpo, just like starting. They didn't even stream before. They all got banned because they got made money before they started.
Games or whatever, right? But how many of the female streamers that, were making headlines over the last couple years were not abusing these metas, were not, filming themselves doing this shit? I mean, Amaranth, for example, was doing this constantly. And then she went through the whole thing where she acted like her husband or whatever was making her do it. And that's just like what kind of stigma got set towards a lot of female streamers, because the platform was literally just promoting the shit and shoving it down everybody's throats. And I think that's why she says like, oh, it felt like there was more women in the last few years and now it's becoming more male dominated, because all of a sudden, after all of the backlash for people who are trying to watch video games coming to Twitch and seeing softcore porn, the website started finally cracking down on this shit and sending these people back to, OnlyFans and wherever they came from with that shit. And then now, yeah, a lot more of the homepage and whatnot is finally taken back up by people playing video games and doing shit like that, which is the way that it should be. I'm sorry, but that's just the reality. No one is going to Twitch for that shit, except for like OnlyFans brained zombies who were
the women that go to Twitch for that are the ones that are not really that wouldn't be successful on OF or other Korean websites. Straight up saying this. You're only on Twitch because everywhere else you would fail. That is true. I've seen seeing some VTubers who don't make loot content starting Fansly accounts. Yeah, I'm not for it. I don't agree. If you do that, I will, I have already unfollowed bigger VTubers because they made a Fansly account. I'm like, I'm out. This is not something I can support. I'm gone. Unfollowed on Twitter, unfollowed on Twitch, unfollowed on YouTube. I don't care. It is what it is. Wasn't it the truth? She getting forced to do more videos and stuff. Yeah, that was not the truth, by the way. Who do you mean specifically? Do you mean Amaranth? Because she was not forced. That was a grift. She was not forced. Because she's doing it right now herself. Like, you can't tell me, oh, I was forced to expose myself. Oh, but I'm doing it now myself. The math ain't mathing.
tuning in literally just to like buy OnlyFans content and like support these women. But even through that, the viewership, in like the terms of the female viewership, has been increasing over time on Twitch to the point now where it is almost getting to like a 60-40 male to female split. It's like 65-35 male to female right now, at least during like 2019 to now. So it's just a ridiculous thing even anyway, because when you just look at everything being done, a lot of the like popular female streamers are people actually now doing talented shit, or like, for instance, there's a bunch of female VTubers who do like the animated characters and whatnot on the screen. A lot of them are pulling fucking absurd numbers, and just because like, oh, they're not in the top 40 most followed or the top 66 most watched of the year, right? These are almost meaningless metrics that don't actually describe anything. It's just always going to be full of the top streamers, and it really doesn't matter if they're male or female or not. To the average viewer, that's just an afterthought. Who really gives a shit, right? People just want to see people on Twitch playing games, having fun, and usually, you know,
Because that is what Twitch was for. It was someone, a big female streamer, I don't remember the name. It was Amaranth. She said that her husband like forced her to do this stuff. But if he really forced her, why is she doing it herself right now? That does not add up. The math ain't mathing. I personally don't mind, but I find it weird when I see a VTuber who makes like funny, silly content that is not lewd at all, suddenly starting a fansly or OF. Yep, that is then the funny part, that like you can tell that they're now either doing it for money or they feel like they're falling behind, so they have to do it, which I find gross. I find that gross. Like, we are at the point, we're not just like VTubers, but all women are like, make it OF, make it fansly, gonna make more money, and like, what is this? Why do you sell yourself like meat? Stop it.
you know, you can go there and find that. It really shouldn't matter either way who it is. But
like, it's called VTubing, not whore-tubing. Sorry if I offend somebody with that.
I just thought it was an interesting discussion anyway, because when you look at like Kai Cenat and IShowSpeed, they're just doing something that stands out from everybody else in streaming anyway. Like, there's very few people, male or female, who could ever have the drive to create as much content at the quality that these...
Like, these guys have a natural talent to be very, what's the word? A natural talent to draw attention, and like there's not really anybody that can do that, like barely. Male, female, anything in between. Needy whore. Like, why sell yourself like mead? It's VB, not whore tubing. Damn, poker clip, it's so good. But it's true. If I want to watch corn, I can just go type in on Google "big booba" and get 30 million results. Like, I don't want to see it. I don't care. And like, I've realized that like over the time that like more and more women just come into VTubing, not for the VTubing stuff, but because they know they can make of the money of the audience that comes with that. And there's a lot of e-girls that instead of are interested in doing the VTubing stuff, they do the OnlyFans stuff instead. So the VTubing is only a grift to lead the audience to the OF stuff. Seen it a couple of times. Yeah, it is, but it's just nice. Yeah.
two are actually producing content. You know, they're doing like professional grade streams with like stream houses and fucking, you know, like I said, meeting up with celebrities and whatnot. There is probably a handful of people in the entire world who could do that. And ironically enough, Pokimane is big enough, she is rich enough, she is successful enough that if she wanted to try and match what these guys are doing with their streams, she absolutely could. And yet she doesn't. She chooses not to for whatever reason, and that's fine. But ultimately, using these two anomalies...
Like, could be multiple reasons, right? Risk of failing, risk of, like, you know, maybe she might just be called, like, a copycat. Who knows, right? We never know what is going on inside a person's head. It could also really just be fear, like scared, which is understandable. You don't want to make a fool out of yourself. But she probably could match them if she really wanted to.
Please, as like an example to back up a point that's not really backed by any sort of data or anything. It just doesn't really make sense, and honestly, it's a conversation that just serves to divide. Like, nobody wants to sit here and hear this shit because it's such a pointless thing to like really care about. Like, as a man, I don't sit here and think like, well, I hope that more of the top 100 YouTubers are men. That represents me. Like, there's no reason to feel that way, for me at least. And so I don't understand why anyone else would feel that way. You should feel most represented by yourself and how you impact the ecosystem of content around yourself. That's the whole point.
True, true. I've generally never understood like the whole representation thing. Like I can see Goku and say that is me. Bro is just a monkey. I don't. But that is me. I think maybe we're just as men we're just more simpler and we don't see like, you know, like representation based on our gender and like that's just me. I look at anime characters that have nothing to do like with real life, and it's just that's me.
I think, of doing shit like this. Not sitting around wondering about meaningless, really metrics that just kind of plainly describe the reality around you as the way it's always been, in a way that just kind of seems salty and like seems more to divide than anything. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers.
That's pretty much the end of the video. I think a lot of the stuff that I've seen about like Pokimane saying this were just like pulled out of context or like not really understood. I think she's going from like the feeling of it. But I don't like the numbers don't reflect what she's saying really. Like she's right, like that it's male dominated. That's true, regardless. At least like content creator wise, that makes sense. But aside from that, I don't know, man. I think putting more research into this instead of just throwing it out as a statement, maybe she would have not been thrown under the bus so much.